What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is having a great start to the 2026 new year. I just wanted to come on here and give you guys my top personal ice fishing lures. Not what's trending, not what you have to use, it's just what I use and why. This isn't a do this or you won't catch fish kind of video, by all means. It's more when I reach for a certain bait and why they worked for me. I'll be mixing in some on ice clips, but mostly you'll see the lure up close so you can really see what I'm talking about. So no more yapping, let's get right to it, guys. First one, and probably my favorite, the one lure I throw maybe 85 to 90% of the time when I'm out there, is bottom contact baits. You know, there's a lot of variations, a lot of different brands, a lot of different companies that are making these bottom contact baits. Me personally, I've narrowed it down to two. My number one confidence, especially from last year, is the thingamajig, made by a guide out here in Lake Simcoe. He makes these, I think he started making these a few years ago, I'm not too sure. I did really well with them last year. That's my number one tried and true bait that I go to, is the thingamajig. For me, number two is no secret at all. It's the Meegs. Everybody knows it. There's different sizes, weights. You know, you kind of figure out your depth, and you go from there, from the heavier. Obviously, the deeper you are, the heavier you want to go. I keep mine simple. I keep on the same two lures the whole year. The thing I like about these the most, whether it's the Meegs or the thingamajig, is it represents the goby. Now, like I said, Simcoe, my home body of water, they're everywhere. That's the main forage. That's the main food source for these whitefish, the lake trout, all the other species. And these baits really represent them well, and honestly the best. Especially the thingamajig. I found the thingamajig really has that searching action. When you give it a few pops here and there, it kind of does that 360 and turn around. 90% of the time I'm throwing the thingamajig. It's just a bigger profile. I kind of feel like it gets, you know what they say, the bigger the bait, the bigger the fish. Not always true, because last year I caught actually a really big burbot on the tiny little Meegs. So, you know, it's all confidence. When I start my day, I always throw the thingamajig. If I feel like the bite's a little bit tough, they're a little bit finicky, I downsize and I go to that smaller Meegs. When I throw these baits, I throw these baits day in, day out. Doesn't matter. I just change up the color, maybe, if that. I don't really change the weights. I don't fish the deeper side of Simcoe. I fish shallow. I'm under that 30 feet mark. So my baits are kind of small, they're not heavy. For me, I keep it simple. Those two baits, the thingamajig, number one, and number two, the Meegs. You can't go wrong. Now on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, my number two bait, the rattle trap. If I don't know exactly how the fish are set up that day, or I'm hole hopping, this is what I use to call fish in. What I like about this is versatility. I can go small when the fish are pressured, or I can go big when they're aggressive. It's all relative to what you're fishing and the size of fish you're actually targeting. So if you're targeting smaller walleye, even smaller perch, you're not gonna go throw in a big rattle trap, right? Now, if you're targeting those big lake trout, those big pike, you're gonna want a bigger bait. So that's what I like, the versatility. There's different sizes, different colors, different weights. Figure out what works best for you, size-wise, color-wise, and throw it, you won't be disappointed. And now for my last lure that I honestly don't use that much, but it's still in my box, I still use it, is spoons. Like the previous two baits that I talked about, there is a ton of variations, colors, brands, styles of whatnot about spoons. I've basically narrowed it down to about two different lures that I go to. Number one being the classic Canadian buckshot. You can't really go wrong with these. These are a staple. Everyone knows about it. It's not a secret. They come in a lot of different sizes, weights, colors, like every other lure that's on the market these days. So you pick what's right for you, you know, kind of maybe match the hatch. Or on the other side of things, you go with the bright, bold colors, that chartreuse, that green, the pinks. And for the other one, it's the dinner bell spoons. These are kind of made popular in the past 4 years, I would say, or that's at least when I've seen them become popular, in the last 4 or maybe 3 years. They're kind of subtle. They do make a little bit of noise. Can't go wrong. They're spoons, they flutter, they call fish in. I personally don't use these as much as I use the buckshot. I just don't have as much confidence in this specific lure as opposed to the buckshot. Truthfully speaking, I haven't caught a ton of fish on the dinner bell spoon, so that's why I don't have that much confidence in it. But nonetheless, it is still in my tackle box with me. when I'm on the ice. An honorable mention, the fourth bait that's kind of everyone throws it, but no one really categorizes it as a bait, is the jig and minnow. Jig and plastic. You really can't go wrong with that, especially jig and minnow. You can't mimic that any better than the actual bait itself, the real thing. So that's why I give it the honorable mention. There's of course different plastics you can use for different species, different sizes. Whether you're using a small little Ned head, dragging it on the bottom, changing up the plastic, and kind of figure out what they're liking, what they're not liking. Even a big glow in the dark one, that's good for your burbot late night. Pair it up with anything you would like. It's very versatile bait, so customize it to your liking and your preference. So yeah, those are my top ice fishing lures. Some days you need it loud, some days you need it subtle, some days you just need to slow it way down. If you've been seeing my 10 seconds, one lure shorts, this video is kind of the longer explanation behind that. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoy that one, and I'll see you on the next one.